Hey everybody, this is our fourth installment of our proper core training series, and it's all about anti-rotational strength. So everyday life requires you to push and pull and turn, and whether you realize it or not, this anti-rotational strength that you're going to create with these movements is going to help you stay safe and let you do some higher level stuff that's a lot of fun. So first up is our bird dog, and this is a reset, so that means we should be breathing diaphragmatically, so mouth closed, tongue on the roof of the mouth, and breathing in and out through our nose and into our belly. You're going to start with your hands below your shoulders and your knees below your hips, and you're going to move your opposite arm and leg away from your body in order to create that rotational force that your body has to fight against. If you have any shoulder issues, don't bring your arm up like I'm doing in the video. Bring your arm back like you're putting it in your hip pocket, and that's going to keep your shoulders safe while still creating that same level of rotation. So next up is the J-Dog, and if you find that the bird dog has gotten a little too easy for you, or you've done enough repetitions that you feel like you're ready to progress, you can try out this bird dog variation by simply lifting your feet off the ground. Now this increases the stability and the anti-rotational challenge by putting less points of contact on the ground and forcing your body to stabilize against that rotational force a little bit more directly. So again, if you have some shoulder issues or you're experiencing some pain, don't bring your arm up into flexion, which is like lifting your arm overhead. Bring it behind you into what's called extension, and think about just putting your arm in your hip pocket. So next up we have a plank variation. So again, we're going to start our plank on our knees, but this time instead of having our knees close together, we're going to widen them in line with our shoulders to create a bigger base of support. So everything that you do in your other plank applies in terms of establishing a good pelvic position, setting tension in your upper back and lats, and then all you do is take an arm off the ground and resist that rotation. It's a lot harder than it looks, guys. And so here's a progression to that plank variation. Now you're going to come up onto your toes, lock in your tension, and then basically take an arm off and hold that position. Okay, you're really fighting against that rotation, and if you look closely, you're going to see that there's no movement in my hips whatsoever, and I'm really tensing up. And so we're going to move on to our single arm plank, and now this is an elevated plank, so you're basically in a push-up position, and if you watch my hands carefully, you can see that my thumbs are touching when I set up. And this is incredibly important so that we want to set up a tripod position to allow our body to stabilize that rotational force that's being created by taking our arm off. Okay, so feet are wider than shoulders or shoulder width apart. Okay, hands are touching and directly under our sternum. You're going to set up a good plank position, so get that nice line between your knees, your hips, and your shoulders. Good pelvic position, establish tension, lock it in, and then just simply take an arm off. Again, you can do taps as you're building up your strength, or when you get strong enough and kind of understand the position that your hips need to be in, you can just hold that and lock it in. All right, and so our last plank progression, and it's a movement that is done incredibly poorly. Like pretty much every time I see it at the gym, it's done wrong. But it is a mountain climber. So you're going to set up a good plank position, but instead of your feet being shoulder width apart, now your hands are and your feet are together. And you're going to pull a knee in as much as you can without letting your spine flex or round, and just keep alternating your legs. All right, so we're going to move on to our pull-off presses, which are standing anti-rotation drills. So the important part for this movement is to make sure that your arms are in line with the anchor point when they are fully extended. So you don't want your arms to be bent when you line yourself up. You want your arms to be straight. Establish a good standing plank, lock in your tension in your midsection, and then slowly press your arms out into full extension. Again, the goal here is to prevent and resist the rotation from the band by locking in and squeezing. Okay. Our next variation of the pull-off press is going to be in tall kneeling, and tall kneeling is just both knees on the ground. Okay. The more joints that your body has to stabilize, the more it can kind of create stability through those joints. So we're going to make it harder on our midsection by coming down onto our knees. We remove our foot and our ankle and knee joint from the equation, and it forces our hips and abs to do more work. So again, setup is key. Make sure your arms are lined up with the anchor point of the band when your arms are fully extended. This is a slow movement, so do not speed through it. Okay. Our next variation to the pull-off press is our half kneeling presses. So you want to stack your joints over your knee, tuck your pelvis underneath to create a little bit of glute and abdominal tension without letting your ribs kind of pop up or flare out. Okay, the key point to this is that bottom base knee, the toe needs to be pointed so that we don't activate our quad, and we make sure that our hip is doing the stability and actually resisting that rotation. Again, slow extensions of the arm, focus on creating tension through your midsection, and slowly pressing out into a full lockout. Okay. And that's our anti-rotation drills. Hope you guys enjoy them, and let us know if they help.